Welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at how we can actually break down and solve SQL problems so we can figure out how to solve homework problems as well as actually do this to solve real world things we want to actually work on. And so the first thing we want to do is we want to look at how we can break down an SQL problem so we can identify the pieces we need to work with so we can actually use that information and then solve the problems we're working with. Now, one of the first things we want to remember is this is always an iterative process. Sometimes it'll be a really quick little process, sometimes there's a lot more steps. And so we have right here, this breakdown right here is just a repeat as needed structure. It's just a quick little demonstration. It doesn't include every single possible step, but it's the idea of how I can actually break these problems down and look at it. One of the first things we want to make sure we have access to is either we have access to the schema or ER diagram or the DDL language we use to actually create the database we're working with. We're working with a schema diagram right here specifically. It has a nice little color highlight. That's part of the Appendix D of the Alice Richard Text Oracle SQL example. Great example of how you can actually look information up and work with database queries, and not just specifically for Oracle, but just for the structure of them as well. But this is the diagram we're working with to make all the to figure out all the problems we're using for our class for homework this year. But you can also use this just to get an idea of how the relationships themselves work. And so the first thing we want to do when we're looking at a question is we want to figure out what's involved with it. So let's go ahead and let's read the question first. So right here we have list the course number, the description, and the cost for all XXX level courses, some range of values that cost less than some arbitrary amount arranged by course number. So here's our question we're looking at right here. And the first thing we want to do is we need to break this problem down into the pieces that it's asking us. And so the first thing we have to do is look at the tables that are involved in that question. So we go over here and we look at the schema or the ER diagram, or if absolutely necessary, our DDL structure, so you can see how the tables themselves and what's inside them. And so I go over here and look at this grade conversion. That doesn't sound like it has anything to do with it. Grade type, no. It has a word description, but that's about it. Grade, again, no. Grade type, wait, no. Enrollment, nope. Section, nope. Course, oh, course, hey, that's what we've got. And so courses plural, and course and courses. And so that's a great indicator right here that the table itself is the right one. So let's go ahead and put that in our notes so we identify the table we found. And so I just do table and course. And if you're doing it on a digital document, you can put it there. You can also just write here on a document itself and like, oh, the table I need, and it's course. And so writing this down on paper is also a great way because, again, you can identify that and work with it. And so you've got that, oh, I've figured out the pieces I need. And then looking at the course table right here, we take a look at that diagram, and it's like, okay, course no is the PK description cost information right here. So this is what's telling us about that course, prerequisite, etc. And so we want to get the course number, course no. Oh, NO is an old abbreviation for number. So I've got, okay, so on my fields that I need, I have my course no. So I know that's the field I need. And so now I've got that right here. So I've got that table. It's like, so I've got that, this is the thing I need. So let's start actually building our query from that right here. And you can either put this right here inside the actual document we're working with. I'm using it digitally right here, and so just inside this text file. But you could also put this inside your notes that you're working with or on paper and then transfer it from there. But again, we just want to start this off and put it on the digital document right here so we can have access to it. And so the first thing we have is we want to prep our from or join clause on the first step, because even though it's the second clause of the actual written query, it's the first one that gets executed. So writing it first actually makes a lot of sense. And so I'm going to do from, I'm going to do course and COU. And so I'm using an alias right here because I find it really helpful, even especially on later problems, to have that specified by a little abbreviation. Just make it, it's like, oh, that's where I'm getting that information from. And so I use the alias structure automatically as I'm working with that. And then the columns I need, the course no description and cost, that goes inside my select clause. And I'm just using it for display, so it makes it really easy. So I'll just write the select clause and then go in and I do COU, the alias, and then dot to prefix that so I can specify where they're coming from. And it says I need the course number, the description, and the cost. So I do COU and then I do course no for the not, and then I do a comma to separate it out, and then COU and dot description, comma again, and then COU dot cost. So I've specified all three of the fields that I need. So I've stepped 1 and 2, I've got that taken care of. And so I can grab this part right here. I can select the course number, description, and cost from course COU. And that's going to give me all of them. Every single course, every single description and cost for the entire table. And that's great. That gives me, well, half of my question. But that's a great start for it. So I want to hit save, of course, make sure I have that backed up. Always do that repeatedly. But the next thing is like, do I need to limit the results? Was that too many results? Yeah, it clause. So that's where my where clause comes into play. Remember, a where clause is how I limit my results that I'm working with. And so how do I limit my results? I go back up and look at the question, and it says I want to make sure that for all XX level courses in some range of values, okay, and then wants to make sure that they cost less than some arbitrary amount. So my limitation happens in my where clause, and I can combine my where clause with either ands and ors, depending on what kind of information I'm working with. This one has both this and that, with since there's nothing delineated that's going to be an either or option. And so I'd be using the and operator, make sure those combine with that. And so for XX level courses, using a range of values. So I go over here, look at my notes again. And so if I want to limit my results, I have a couple of different ways to easily limit them. I can easily limit based on equality. And so if field name is equal to that or not equal to that. I have a relational limitation. So field 2 is less than that or field is greater than that. My alligators eat the values. I know, kind of cheesy. I can have a range value. Oh, range of values right here. That means I use the between keyword, and so other filled between A and B. Okay, cool. I've got to know I have to work with that. I can also do a specified value, and so I have some field in and then a specified list of values. In this case, Black and Indigenous persons of color, as well as lesbian, gay, bi, transgender, queer, intersex, and asexual. So we can support all the individuals who are involved in computer science as well, because again, we want to make sure this is an open and a welcoming place for everything we do inside class. And so I have that where clause right here that I know I need to work with this. And so now I want to make sure I can get those XX level courses. So the XX level courses, and so courses is that's on that number. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to add that into my next step. So that's the where clause. And so COU.CourseNo and is equal to, or between, between, and then we'll say 0 and 9999. So I have all my courses between 0 and under 10,000. Cool, great stuff. And then I also combine that using my AND operator, and I want to make sure it's less than some arbitrary amount. And so it's where my COU.cost is less than, I use the relational operator right there, and we'll say 99,999. That's a great cost. Yeah, definitely, really cool. And so now I've got all of this part of my query is taken care of. I've listed all that stuff. Oh wait, I have one more step. I have to arrange my course number. And that's on that last, second last step actually right here of add details update my query. Do I need an order by clause? Do I need to actually structure this so it gives me an order? And so the way I'm going to do that right here is I'm going to add that last clause, my order by, and that's going to be COU.CourseNo. Because that's the ordering by the course numbers, how I'm doing that. And so now I've built my query so I can have those pieces together. I know what I'm working with. And so I've selected my table first as my first thing I note. I make sure I note that either on my paper or I note it inside my document. And if I was actually working with this on a like I printed off my homework assignment, I'd make sure I check off my pieces that I need as I work through it if it's on paper, so I can make sure I have that information ready. So I've got all the pieces I need to do, and now I've got my query right here. It's taken care of, and so I could run this query inside that, check to make sure our answers are correct, and we'd go from there. And so that's that first thing that we want to do to make sure we do that. So that's a really simple query and how we can make that happen. Let's take that same process and do it in a little bit more advanced query that we have right here. So as more advanced one, we want to list the grade type code, the description, and the number per section of all grades in course number, whatever specified we're looking at. And we will arrange that by description. So we're going to use that same process we have right here that we did earlier on that simple question. We do the same thing again over here. So the first step we want to do is we look at the tables we need. And so we wanted the grade type code, description, and course number. So where we find that? We already know that course number is inside course. So I can put that in here right there. And so this is going to be tables, plural. We have lots of courses because that's not anything that's on there. And so I have my courses, the first table I need to have for that. And for that course number, because that tells us right there. And number per section, well, I don't have anything on number over here in the section. Well, I have sections, so per section. But, oh wait, up here I have number per section in grade type weight. So I have number per section, and that's inside my grade type weight. And I've got that right there. And then grade type, and then I have to join that with section, even though I'm not using anything inside section on here. Because I have to join that for all those things. So I have to get that path together. But I've identified all the tables I need to make that happen. So now I've got my from clause right here. So I've got that taken care of. So my first thing on there is just course that I can use to get to that. And so I could grade type code, or I could build that with grade type weight. And when I'm building that, it doesn't matter how I'm going to go from that. I can go from up here down to here. I can start here, go down here, go up here after that. The join path doesn't really matter. But I have to figure out what I'm working with in that table, so that's that first step. The next thing is to make sure I've identified the field. So I have grade type code, description, and number per section of all grades. And so grade type description is only up here in the grade type one. So that's the only place I can get the description of that grade. It also has grade type code. So I know what that table, those two are happening right there. A number per section is over here in my grade type weight column, and that's this one over here, so I know where that one's at. So those are those things. And then course number whatever is over here in the course number column or inside my section column. And so I can have that inside that section table as well, so I can grab those pieces right there. And so that's how I can limit those results with that. And so actually don't even need to do that lovely course one, because that course no is actually the foreign key on this, so I can actually take the course table off of that. No big deal. Doesn't actually hurt us to have that in there, but that's okay. And then I want to arrange by description, so my last step is going to be an order by clause on that description of the grade type. And so now that same process we're going to do is we're going to build that same query right here. And so let's go ahead and give us some space to put that together. And so we'll just scroll up here so we have that on this. And so we have our grade type code description in that. So we're going to go ahead and start off with section, go up to grade type weight, and then go to grade type. And so we're going to go and build our from clause first. And so we go to from and section, SEC. And then I want to join that over here. I need to join that to grade type weight. And so we're going to do a join. And we do grade type weight. And then we call that GTW because it's a great name for it. Again, we use an alias that explains what we're working with and how we can go there. And we do the on clause on that join down here. We're going to go from section to that. And that's on that lovely purple indicator right here from section ID matches section ID. So we have the GTW, not section ID, is the same as the section.section ID. And the order I do that in, I can go from the, grade type weight to section ID to section ID or section ID to grade type weight section ID. It doesn't matter what direction I do that as long as I have that primary key, foreign key relationship happening. And so that joins those first two tables together. That's what we're talking about right here in that step 6, that path that we're working with, and they go in the on clause right there. And this is just a simple one, so I don't have to do anything special. And then you join on to grade type weight, so I do a join again, and I join that to grade type. And I'll do GT for that. And that's going to be on, and this is going to be the GT and dot grade type code is equal to the GTW grade type code. And so now I've got those clauses right there. I've got those tables all joined, so I can get from grade type down to section. I can get the information I need. My from join on section is all done. So I've got the tables I need. I've got that handled right here. So that part's taken care of. Now I need grade type code, the description, and the number per section for all grades in course number, blah, blah, blah. So now the step part is I need to get the select. So I need to put my select query together. And so my select clause, again, starts with the keyword select. And then I need to specify the grade type code. And grade type code is either inside my GTW table or my grade type table because I'm using the alias for that. And I'll go ahead and I'll use grade type W. So GTW.grade, GTW, and then we want the grade type code. So we go GTW.grade underscore type underscore code, and then a comma. And then I want to also get the description. That's only in grade type that has that. And so that's GT and then description. And another comma. And the number per section of all grades, that's over here in grade type weight. So I go back down here again, and that's GTW dot number per section. And again, notice I'm using, even though it's in caps over here, I'm using the lowercase on that because we want to make sure it makes it easy to read because when we're writing code, we're writing for us humans. We're not writing for the computer. The computer will handle the way we do this. We want to make it so it's easy for us to read. So grade type code, description, and number per section of all grades in course number, blah, blah, blah. So I've got that part right there. So I have my select clause done and my from join on sequence done. And now I need to restrict my results so it's only course number, blah, blah, blah. So now I go after my join ons and I add my where clause. And my where clause wants to make sure that I match based on some specified course number. And so course number is only in my section one right here. So I do my SEC dot section ID. SEC dot course no. And so my SEC course number is the only specified right there, and it equals that value. So I'm using that equality limit right here, and it will say 789. And so I've got that limit right there. So that would give me just my results right there. And then lastly, I need to arrange my description. And that's that last statement. So that's my order by. And then I have to specify this right here. So GT dot description. And so now I have that lovely structure right there. So I can build that all the number per section for all of that. I can run that query and grab that information from there. And so again, this is a process I use. I go through it over and over again. If I need to add more pieces, I break that problem down over and over again so I can solve that problem and work with it on a regular basis. And that's how I can go through and actually solve SQL-based problems, by looking at the pieces, iterating over the process, and figuring out what I have to do to make sure that happens. That's a great little thing we can do to review. Hope this is helpful for you. Cheers and have a great day. See you next time. Bye-bye.